find it again. You're gonna be like, this is exactly like PragerU.
But better.
It depends on your definition of better. Their logo is pretty sick. Way better than PragerU's. Look, see, it's got this little C. CC.
Yeah, much better.
It's the last thing you'd expect, but it appears big business has gone far left. Only a few years ago, it would have been reasonable to assume the capitalist class mostly supported Republican politicians and establishment policies. But today, something strange seems to be going on. Actress Gina Carano was fired by...
Do you see these billboards?
Something strange.
This is like
Jesus Christ.
This is like the when you put on the glasses. This is what they say, right?
Yeah. The they live glasses.
Okay,
yeah.
Bro. Wall Street. Go over to Wall Street. You know, I guarantee there used to be stuff like that. It was written on like the hippie people's signs that stood outside and protested. But come on, Wall Street. Fuck off.
Change seems to be going on.
Show the bull's testicles. Show the bull's testicles outside of Wall Street. Have you seen it? You know that the bull is like
I know
huge
about
nuts?
the bull.
Carano was fired by Disney from The Mandalorian, seemingly simply for being a run-of-the-mill conservative.
No.
A show that I'm watching.
No. That is not what happened. That is not what happened. She compared like vaccines to the Holocaust, right? And not only that, you know the famous picture of the naked children running from napalm in Vietnam, right? She shared that to her Instagram story, and it said something like, "This is how it feels to be a conservative right now," or something.
Oh my god!
Right, the same day. So, like, I don't know. I would say she did it on purpose. It's the best thing that happened to her career, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. You're not wrong.
British Petroleum announced a pivot from oil to green energy, moving it from 3% of its total spending to a third, a move that analysts called a money pit, causing BP's stock to hit a 25-year low. And investment firms around the nation are bowing to BP's stock.
Look at it, literally says pandemic, impact of the pandemic here. Right? So, I talk about this all the time, how you can tell that oil is dead because Saudi Aramco divested half the company into chemical research. They were even like, it was like the press secretary. Who was the person that Bill O'Reilly was on about because she like gave money to like some green energy thing and he tried to sell it like it wasn't a green energy thing? Do you remember that? And then he like is like, and they're best friends with Michelle Obama. I think it is the press secretary, and I think I don't know if she was still around, but like all these companies, they're cutting out a huge chunk of the oil market, right? And they're putting it into future investments. Guess what? And this is another thing that if Republicans and right-wingers were smart and they wanted, they could accept that climate change is real and still lobby for it by telling people, guess what? Those windmills need plastic to be made. They need steel to be made.
It's so true. So true.
Both of those require fossil fuel to do. And this is why I point out, like, we probably could have done more, but it's always been about mitigation. The conservatives were there. They just weren't.
Yes.
If they weren't, maybe something different would have happened. But the thing is that the African children can only mine the shit fast enough. Let's not forget where it comes at the end of the day. A massive turnover of this investment into this infrastructure is happening now. But the thing is that you couldn't switch to this whole project overnight. You could if you also, you could do a lot more if you also were doing nuclear, but alas.
The 25-year low. And investment firms around the nation are bowing to activist pressure to divest from companies that are allegedly insufficiently environmentalist or socially conscious. But it gets even more radical. Coca-Cola recently received widespread backlash after a whistleblower leaked an employee training that told staff that in order to be anti-racist, they needed to try to be less white. And the training itself was hosted and sold by another pillar of corporate America, LinkedIn. Sandia National Laboratories,
Okay.
a subsidiary of Honeywell, best known for contracting with the federal government on nuclear weapons
Anyone who's worked a job has sat through a dumb thing that the company thinks is important. Who cares? Be less white.
technology, similarly hosted a 3-day re-education camp for their white male employees. The program, called A Can-Do Attitude, Hard Work, and Striving Towards Success, elements of white male culture.
Now, let's remind ourselves that America is a capitalist country. You should know this because you're the Capitalist Research Center. What do capitalists need more than anything? Jack?
Drones.
No.
Robots.
Close.
People that can do basic bitch work for
Correct.
no money.
Workers. They need workers.
They don't need
This is
can-do
why.
attitude.
This is why, since the 90s, oil companies have been investing in specifically targeting women with their advertising because they need workers on these oil rigs. So as much as these men want to pretend like, oh, how come women aren't doing this job? They're trying to get them there. I think it's like 10% women now. And at the end of the day, it's what the company needs to do, because without that being filled by women, that's a 10% less workforce that they would currently have. So what does this type of training do at the end of the day? And why do companies do it, even if it's really, really dumb? Because they think it drives the profit motive. Okay, Capitalist Research Center?
That are devastating to women and people of color, and asked all the participants to accept their complicity in the white male system and their role in creating oppressions. Under Armour, too, mandated a training for white employees that said being taught to treat everyone the same was...
Gee, Under Armour, because I love that's a Daily Wire article. Under Armour is probably one of the more diverse clothing companies that you could pick, right? Especially with the contracts that they do and all that stuff. It's like being like Nike. Ooh, I mean, they're better than Nike, that's for sure. I don't know, they might. I know that they kind of fell off though. Now everyone wants now everyone wears the 511 shit or whatever.
Was a white narrative. And dozens of corporations have given money to the Black Lives Matter.
Can you believe it? The Pokemon company gave to Black Lives Matter.
Who cares?
You know what?
Or is this the organization that stole all that money?
Hey, yeah, pretty much. It's the one that's not even the movement, right? But guess what? Guess who doesn't care? The capitalists. Right. Exactly, Jack. So the capitalists don't care. And what does the government do? Incentivize with tax breaks, right? So then the capitalist donates to this, and they can then have a fucking sticker that says they support Black Lives Matter or something like that because they donated to some fake fucking charity that had nothing to do with the movement whatsoever. Gee, I wonder. People are constantly told to vote with your dollars, right? That's a specific conservative talking point, Capitalist Research Center. So brands try to lie to people. They do it especially with labels with food, thinking that something is healthy. They just package it to make it look like it's healthy. It's the same thing. It makes the consumer think they're making a good, informed choice when they buy a product, right? Capitalist Research Center?
Matter Global Network. Not the Black Lives Matter movement generically, mind you, but the Global Network, an organization that's specifically called to dismantle capitalism and whose founders self-identify as trained Marxists. What's going on here? Author and opinion editor at Newsweek, Batya Ungur Sargon, has argued that corporate identity politics is really the perfect ideology for affluent progressive whites who want nothing to change, but who still want to feel like the heroes of a...
She's so right, though. She's so right. I don't know if this lady is a weird racist lady or something. And
I've literally said this forever, though, right? Is that the donations from white people is just to feel good and say that they can...
Because it's critical race theory. No, that's where she's wrong. Not critical race theory. Okay, it's just capitalism. It's now that the more I dissect this, the more I see wrong with it, because she's talking about people who use Instagram, right? The people who use Instagram who think that liking a post is curing racism, they are generally trying to do something. They're not they're just they're just stupid. People are just stupid, and that's why brands lie to people and get them to buy stuff. This is how capitalism works, okay? So it is actually, when we say the progressive whites, if we're already saying that all these companies are woke now, then those would be the progressive whites we're really talking about, who want nothing to change, and they're doing it not to bring about change, but to have more profit. It's not about giving back or anything like that. You just have to kind of think. It's pulling something out of a context of the whole article. There's probably a whole lot of bullshit before we got to this.
A story about social justice. But there's a more nefarious part to
People
this story.
do want to feel like heroes.
In the late 1960s and early 70s, an activist group called the Detroit Industrial Mission, which conducted some of the first racial awareness trainings for corporations, developed what they called an insider-outsider strategy. The mission believed America was in a pre-revolutionary period, but that a successful mass uprising wouldn't happen without radicalizing people inside and outside the large corporations in America. Outside activist pressure created the need for corporations to bring in groups like the mission, while inside, consciously hiding the full extent of their radicalism to gain access to corporate staff, the mission could educate.
You mean they lied to make money? Oh my God!
Educate, radicalize, and persuade inside power figures. But the end goal wasn't helping the corporations. It was creating the conditions for full-scale, potentially violent.
Yes, because that wealth gap suddenly disappeared. It's definitely not, it's still increasing.
Societal revolution. Corporations need to understand that what looks like a way to feel socially conscious and escape criticism by the far left isn't what it appears. In fact, corporations are empowering a movement that can only ever be fully satisfied by their total destruction. I'm Jay Klein.
I wish.
If you liked this video,
wouldn't that be awesome? That would be so
Wouldn't
based
it?
if that was the case.